the time. That's what it's saying. You know what I think that's talking about?
What?
I think that's talking about their death, our death. Yeah. So I look up in the Aramaic, Greek, and Hebrew. I think the timeline that we have, it would be Aramaean Hebrew or whatever, that would branch off to be what we know now as Aramaic and Hebrew, and then came down to Greek, and then came, you know, the translations from there. So that word man, man derives from the same word that that hand does. That mean anything that's of significance? Not really. So it's like the translation for man and woman is the exact same pretense. Mm-hmm. So one would be like mish, and the other one would be mishmish. I may be saying that completely wrong. I may be like not even pronounce that. I may have like the wrong connotation to like what I'm saying, but it's the same word. So that's why Adam's like woman, because it came out of man, mm-hmm. and then out of it God formed the wife. But wife doesn't relate to female. Look it up. Wife doesn't relate to female. Wife relates to the same word that they use for woman and Adam's wife. His hand. His arm. Prove it, preacher. God said in the verse before, it's not good that man be alone. I'll make him a help meet him. All right. What are we talking about? Help meet him. Well, what Adam need help to meet him? Okay. Says he put him to sleep, mm-hmm. because he had to bring the animals in front of him to see what he would call them. Because he had to call them, because he couldn't bring them himself. Mm-hmm. But that's not good. And it says, amongst the animals, nobody was found suitable for him. Now, we're talking about two different things here. We're talking about what God used to help man, and then we're talking about God making something. All right? So there's a need here before God even created the animals. He sees a need. Mm-hmm. Adam would need something to help him. And so he puts him to sleep, takes a rib, and then from the rib, he sewed it, well, he covered his body with flesh, right? And then formed a woman and brought it unto him, right? And Adam woke up and said, that's bone of my bone, mm-hmm. flesh of my flesh. I will call it woman, because it is taken out of man, but it helps man. Notice in the Garden of Eden, Eve is never found saying a word, ever, until they come to the fruit tree. Mm. And the one responsibility that the hand has is to grab it. After you hold it, you're bearing it. Mm-hmm. And then the body then conceives it. Mm-hmm. I can't hear nobody. They bore the fruit in his hand. Mm-hmm. That's why she took the fruit, because it's the hand. Brought it to the man, gave it to him who was there with her, and he ate. And so God is found walking through the garden and never responds to the woman that we mistake to be Eve, but it's the hand. And God says, what is this you've done? Not that she's talking, she's pointing. The serpent beguiled me. Mm-hmm. I can't hear nobody. It says, curse it. It's going to be hard for you to conceive it. What is it conceiving? Anything that you bear, it's going to cause you remorse holding it. You can get it, but bearing it is going to be what's hard for you. It's not really hard to go get something. It's hard to hold it. You can only hold it for so long before it gets heavy and weigh you down. Your hand becomes weak, even though it is the strongest part of you, the most helpful part of you. Without arms, what would you do? Now, Adam could walk. He was walking, talking, but he had nothing to help him bring it to him. And first off, people are like, no, that don't make sense. Why would God make him without arms? Because God don't have arms. Angels don't have. They have wings. But God is speaking stuff into existence. That's not good. I can't leave him just with his voice. Because somewhere he'll fall and need to get up and won't be able to form the words because his mouth can't get him up where his arms can. So it says in, what's that? Psalms, Proverbs 20:21, Proverbs 19:20, whatever one is like, the power of life and death lies in your tongue. And then the next verse 21 says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing because he's found favor with the Lord. Proverbs 18:21. What does it say?
Okay, it says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Those who love its use will eat its fruit. The one who has found a good wife has found what goodness is and obtained a delightful gift from the Lord.
Now, life and death is in your tongue. But what you achieve is based off of what you receive or then conceive, what you eat. If you're eating things that are of life, you will live. If you're speaking things of death, eating death, you'll die. Blessed is the man who has a good wife, because he's found good things. He's obtained the favor. So many men don't have wives, have favor. Don't believe that? Don't think so? And we become selective in our favoring of giving over to a man because he don't have a wife, because it says he who has a wife. But it tells you exactly what we're talking about here through the mix of translation. We relate that word to mean something that it doesn't, right? So Adam has a hand. Life lies in your tongue, so does death. What are you feeding it that's killing you or giving you life? He who makes his hand good, the good work, the good use, can find good things, has found a good thing because his hand only finds good things. Feeds it to him, that becomes the favor of God, that he don't have a hand leading him the wrong way. Right? So just thinking about it in synopsis, it's like how many times in reference are we referring to the hand? That Jesus sits at the right hand of God. I mean, it's not right side, it's the right hand. It's that they nail him in his hands. It's risky. Y'all should watch that one. It's that when Moses lifts up the serpent in the wilderness, he lifts it up with his right hand. It's the depiction of the hand of God poured out, the wrath, and when the hand of God is on you, it's if you go down, it makes sense that the strong man would tie up the weaker man with his hands. So don't have idols' hands. They are the devil's. You have to be careful in the depiction of you understanding and knowing everything about the Bible, because it's ever evolving. Now, it stays the same. The words never changed. But when you dig a little deeper, you can find so many new things in it. So we're always suppressed to the hand. Think about it. What part of your body can you find something without ever looking at it? You don't need to turn on the light to find the phone. Not with your hand. You don't need to like look down there to see where the input to the outlet is. You use your hand. I mean, you walk into a room, first thing you do is you feel for the light switch so that you can see, but you do it with your hand. It's like babies come into this world, have no activity of their feet at all. Eyes cannot open. But the one thing that moves on them babies, their hands. And God is like, he who finds that his hand is what betrayed him. And you found a good thing. Because the favor of God to make your hand submit to your mind, that before you think it, your hand does it, but now it's the reverse. How is it that the rest of my body is slow, but before I even get the words out, my hand already knows the actions to show? Like you're eating and your mouth don't open until your hand get there. Like you never have to train a hand to eat, to get up, to it just does, and the rest of your body responds to it. So put your hand under subjection. Make it submit to you. That you stop doing everything that leads you wrong and make it follow you to what's right. He who finds the use of his hand to do good work. That's why Jesus was a carpenter. Put his hands to good work. That's why you will be able to lay hands on the sick and they recover. Because you found use to do good in your hands. Not that you're suppressed to be in sin. Before you ever touch a girl, you touch her with your hands. Before you ever touch anybody else, you touch yourself with your hands. You love somebody, it's based off of what you feel, but you can only feel if you touch with your hands. Yeah, I think that's why there's so much scrutiny about left-handed people. Because they've become ambidextrous. They've become useful of a hand that is seemingly useless because you are overpowered by the power of your right hand. Submit and make it subject to everything that is the will of God over your life. That when you're found wanting, God has written your name in the Lamb's Book of Life, because the hands that you were dealt, you ended up doing good work. That's why it says, well done, my good and faithful servant. But a servant serves. How do you serve if you have a hand that's disobedient? Put your hand under subjection. Beat your hand. Make your hand move will to the word of God that you are forming and creating with your hands, not letting